Hi, my name's John Storms, and this is part two of setting up a Light-O-Rama show. And here we're talking about actually what it takes to get the show going. You have all the sequences, and now you want to actually do a show for everybody that's coming by your house. Now, last time we talked about how to set up shows in the show editor. That was part one. We reviewed a key concept, which I want to review, which is the schedule, and there is one schedule, contains shows. Shows contain sequences, and sequences contain channels. This is an important relationship to remember. So, that said, we are going to jump into creating shows with, well, this is the show editor. That's what we did last time. This time we are going to set up the schedule with the Light-O-Rama Schedule Editor. So a lot of people use this scheduler. There's another scheduler that's put out there by Matt, and that is X-Lights, and that's very popular, especially with the Falcon Pi crowd. But I'm focusing on the Light-O-Rama software here. Okay, so the schedule editor determines what shows run at what time. So in the last episode here, I guess we call it, we set up all these different shows. You know, we had full shows and short shows and everything in between. And you go into the schedule editor, and it's kind of like going into Outlook, and you say, okay, I want this show at this time and that show at that time. And you can have as many shows as you like. You can use the same show over and over. You can mix and match them, whatever you like to do. Okay. And I got the PowerPoint here, and I'll have a link to it below in the notes. Um, there are two views that affect the schedule. So let me actually go pull up the schedule editor. So I have my control panel running already. So I right click on the light bulb, and I can go to schedule editor. Okay, I should have deleted some of this out first. Oh well. So the schedule editor has two views. There's one schedule, but it has two views. Here I'm looking at the weekly schedule, and here I have set up shows to run, like this one starts at 5, this one starts sometime around 5:30, ends at 8:30, and so on, all sorts of things. This is a weekly schedule. It will repeat this week after week after week as long as the shows are enabled. Now you also have calendar view, so I could say, all right, today is April 1st, April Fool's Day. I go in here and I can say at 5 o'clock I want to add a show, and then you just go in here and pick from one of the shows. Okay, and you say I want it to run to 5 to 6, you can do it here. So this is good if you have a particular day that you want to run a particular show. And then under week is good if you're doing week to week. Now, this doesn't take effect until I hit save. When I hit save, it's on. Okay, it's going right now. Both of these coexist at the same time. Okay, so it's a good idea to make sure if you have one of these types of shows set up that it doesn't overlap with this. I haven't tested out to see what happens if you cross the streams and schedule two shows at the same time. I can't imagine anything good of it, and certainly not what you would expect. Okay, so these are two views of the same schedule. Okay, so you got the weekly view and you got the calendar view, and adding a show to both is the same. Here, if I add a show to the weekly view, it has the same thing. It has me go and pick a show. The only thing that it has different is it gives me the options to set it to every day of the week. But I'll say, I just want this one on Tuesday and Wednesday at 10 a.m., for example. Okay, see, and it added those two shows at 10 a.m. and it will play those. Okay, so adding a show is really easy. Calendar view, like we already showed, adding a show is exactly the same way, except you're not picking days of the week. Okay, now I can delete a show. So if I right click in this, I can hit delete. And that's pretty straightforward. The only time that gets a little tricky is if your show is so small that you can't see it. Then that becomes a problem. Okay, so I'm going to delete these shows. Now, you can go in here. I'm going to create an example where you do a show that goes across the entire week. So you can say I want Frozen to play every day at 3 p.m. Why? Who knows? You're a little odd. See, and I got that every day. Okay, now it's handy you can go in here and you can have your schedule running. Like let's say I have my schedule running. Let me see what time it is. So it's 6:24. So if I actually come in here, I'm going to turn on the status window. The status window is always something handy to have. So right here it says no show is active. But I also don't have my schedule enabled. So if I say enable schedule, now it says schedule is enabled, and it's saying playing static all on. Okay, so today is Wednesday, I think. I come up here. I don't want to add anything. Come up here, I find my Wednesday column, I scroll down, and right here, so it's doing static all on Pixie. Now let's say that it's causing problems. People are so into the pixel lights, they're honking their horns, it's causing problems. I want to tone it down a bit, or I just want to switch it out, or I'm saying, I really don't want to run this to 11 o'clock or midnight. I want to stop this here in about an hour or so. So I go in here and I say edit, and I can say stop at 9 o'clock. Okay, now mind you, the show is running right now, and I hit add, and you can see here it's changed. Nothing's changed here. Okay, it's still going. Now if I hit save, watch what happens in the status window. Hopefully something. Anything? There we go. See right here? Whoops. It says schedule loaded, current show's time range has changed. See that? Now I could go in here and I could say let's put in an entirely different show. I'm going to put my Frozen show in. And I hit add. It's changed, nothing's changed here, but when I hit the save button, save means go. I hit save, it waits for a couple seconds, it says the current show, so it says schedule loaded, current show is entering shutdown mode. So whatever was in the shutdown sequence for this pixel sequence, it's going to finish that up. So first of all, it's going to finish up the musical sequence that it's on, and then once it's done with that, then it will go through and cycle through all the shutdown stuff. Now I'm trying to be sly. Let's say I'm trying to manage my traffic, and I had a long show, and now I'm trying to swap it in for a shorter show. That way there's not as many songs to cycle and people don't sit there for 45 minutes. I might want to do it in such a way that they can't notice. So if I have no startup or shutdown sequences, and I do the shutdown, as long as the same song isn't that's playing now is the first song for the next one, most people aren't even going to notice the difference. Okay, and that way you can kind of swap out the show as you go. So you can come in here and manipulate this as you need to. Okay, now I'm going to show you another really cool trick. Let's say I have my big opening show, right? We had our big show. Let me go pull it open in the show editor. Big looping show. Okay, so in the big looping show, I have my background sequence, which is my radio. Not everybody does that, some people do. And then I have all these songs in my musical sequence, and then in shutdown I have nothing. So what will happen is, if I sit there and I say, go into shutdown mode, it will finish whatever song it is in, it will come down here to shutdown, and it won't have anything to do, and it will stop. Now let's say I want to set it up so this show runs once. Okay, I just want it to run once and then be done. I don't want to say start at this time and go to this time. I just want it to run one time through. Maybe the jogging club came through and we want to play a set of songs, but when it's done, we don't want it to continuously loop. Okay, so here's what we can do. So I'm going to say save as. Actually, I'm going to create a new one. It'll be easier. So I'm going to create a new show. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into musical and I'm going to add my first song. So let me find bumper. And if you're looking at the status window, you can see it just went into the next song. Oh, it's frozen, all right. Hang on. Disable shows immediately. See, and now it stopped. Okay. So I come in here, hallelujah. This is my opening sequence. I put that under musical. Okay. That's the only thing I'm going to put under musical. Now I go to shutdown. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to add all my other songs. I'm stuck in the search window again. So I'll just add some songs. I'm not really going to play them, so it doesn't really matter what they are. But I'm adding them all to Shutdown. And you're like, he's lost it. Why is he doing this? This doesn't make any sense. Why would he go and put all the songs in the Shutdown sequence? It's because it's a really cool trick. You're really going to like it. Okay. Those are in my Shutdown sequence. This is musical. I'm going to say save. I'm going to call this A. Oops. Didn't want to call it that. A. Big show. One time. Okay. Now this Hallelujah sequence. Let me go confirm how long that is, because I want it to be longer than a minute. Audio.
I dedicate this house to the Griswold family Christmas. Drum roll, please.
Okay, it's 30 seconds. That's not long enough for what I want to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, I'm going to find one more song to put behind it. Let's say I'll put my Minecraft song in there. Okay, so I got 2 songs. This is longer than a minute. Okay, I save this. Now watch this. So this is a little over a minute. I'm just thinking to myself, at the 1 minute mark, what's going to be happening? At the 1 minute mark, I'm going to be in the middle of the Revenge Minecraft song. So I come over to my scheduler, if I can find it. Here it is. And I'm going to just delete this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let's say I'm going to have a song or a show one time through, and I'm going to have it end at 6:01. Okay, now what's going to happen? This show, the scheduler, will kick it off at 6. Then at 6:01 it will end it, but it's going to end it gracefully. So it's going to go to the show and say, okay, time for you to end. It's going to say, okay, I'm going to finish up my musical sequence that I'm on, which is going to be Revenge Minecraft. And then it will move into shutdown mode and go through all of these, and when it's done, the show will stop. Okay? So I can add that to my schedule here. Now there is one teensy problem. So I add this here, and you see I just get this little sliver on the schedule. It makes it a little harder to see. See, that's really kind of tricky. So if I want to edit it, I got to hit it just right. So I'm going to delete it. Let me show you another application of the same idea. So I'm going to right click here, I'm going to add a show. And you know what? I'm just going to do my boring static show. Everything's on. Okay, and let's say it's 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Okay, so it's on this whole time. So the show is running. I hit save, right, and it's actually going to switch it over here. Oh, it's disabled. Enable schedule. Okay, so now the schedule's enabled, and what it's going to do, as soon as it's done initializing here, it's going to load up my static all on. So basically, boom, the lights just went on. So it's just static lights. And then I'm sitting there going, oh, okay, you know, this is fun and all. Let me go. There's a little kid walking up the street. Okay, so I want to really wow this little kid, but not with the calm listener. Okay, where is my show editor? I must have closed it. So I opened up my show editor, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm going to have Frozen 2. So I'm going to say new. I'm going to have in my musical sequence, I'm going to have, do you want to build a snowman? Here. Okay. And then in the shutdown, I'm going to have Let It Go. Let It Snow. Not quite the same. But it's a sequencing on that one I really like. Ooh, we'll give him the world of color too. Oh, the little kid's going to be disappointed. Where's that Frozen song? Here it goes. Let it go. Okay, so I got. We'll just get rid of this one. And we'll move Let It Go up, so we'll reorder that one. So what I have is I have my musical sequence, Do You Want to Build a Snowman? And then in the shutdown I have this, right? So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to say AAA. The reason I'm naming these all AAA is so that when I'm done with this, I can just go delete all these easy. Okay, so this is Frozen one time. Okay, so what I can do is my show is running. It's going right now. What I can do is I come over here, I right click on the light bulb, and I go to show on demand. So I just got my stuff going. Now you could even have a regular show going, but this is just, static on. So I come over here to show on demand, and I right click or left click, and I can go in here and I can pick a show. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pick Frozen one time. I'm going to say start it as soon as possible. I come down here to the clock at 6:35. I'm going to say stop this at 6:36 and 02 seconds. Alright, over here you can say it's request for show demand received. Down here, little arrow, this is blue. And what will happen is it will interrupt this show. So the static on, I believe I have it on a 4-minute loop. So as soon I usually have 1 minute for the static on. But what will happen is within a minute that will shut down, and then it will start up the show on demand. It's designed to play for 1 minute, so it's going to start that first song. So, oh my word, I need to go into shutdown mode. It'll go into shutdown mode and then go into the body of your song. It will play however many songs you want to play one time through. Okay, so if you want to do a one-time show, and I use this all the time. I'll have a friend come by, or one of the neighbors, if my kid's into Minecraft, another one's into Frozen, whatever. And I got a bunch of little shows set up for all those different situations, and we kick it off for people. Or we even throw together a show on the fly. We just say, wait a minute, and we'll get something kicked off for you. Meanwhile, I could have the static show running in the background, and then it kicks off. So yeah, here it goes. So now it's starting. I know what it was. It took so long for it to start that it's not time anymore, so the show on demand is already over. Okay, usually it's good to give yourself maybe more than 1 minute, but you get the idea. Okay, so there, we've shown you a way you can do your show one time through if you want. And we've also shown you the trick of how you can make it so it just plays once. And of course, we also showed you how to do it via the scheduler and also by show on demand. So now is probably a pretty good time to go back to the slides and make sure I haven't missed anything. So we talked about the two views and toggling back and forth. Adding a show we went over. We talked about save means go and how that will make it pop up in the status window. We talked about having different kinds of shows. In this example, what I'll do a lot of times is I'll have static from around 5:30 until 7. Then at 7 I play different variations of the show. School nights I let it run. I don't let it run as long, and then I just go back to static on. But then at 11, even the static ons can give people sunburn, so then we just move it to do just the eves. And that's the nice thing about the scheduler, is that you can customize it for whatever you want to do. And then we also showed you how to override that. Okay, we talked about doing variation of full shows. And the reason why it's nice having the variation of full shows is, like, let's say you have a 30-minute show. Some people will come and sit there the full 30 minutes. Now, if you have 4 or 5 cars a night, that's not a big deal. But if you have several hundred cars a night and you have a line that's a quarter mile long, you're going to want to change that up a little bit. You want to do shows that have drop sequences, or that will have a shorter amount. You'll want to put in some public service announcements to tell people not to turn around in driveways and things like that. Uh, you can have a very quick show where it's just one song and a drop sequence. That's to get the maximum number of cars through. It's not very fun. You can do something in between where you have 3 or 4 songs, a drop sequence, and then you can run the cars through. Again, in those situations, I usually avoid having startup and shutdown sequences just because it causes problems. And then usually I have like a small version of the show, something that runs in about 15 minutes. But this is stuff that you kind of play with on your own. Of course, the kickoff show, this is everything with startup and shutdown sequences. But basically, between the show editor and the schedule editor, you can do pretty much anything that you want. Okay, scheduling tricks. We talked about how to make the show play once all the way through, and also how to change the schedule while the show is running. Another thing I've seen on the forums a few times, people say I want to run Christmas music during the day and then lights at night. This is very easy. All you do is you create sequences that have music, but you do no timings and you don't configure the channels to point to any Light-O-Rama or any other devices, and it just plays the music during the day. And then you create a show containing those sequence-less musical sequences. They have just the music and you just let them play. You can even do your shuffle play. So that's the schedule editor. Okay. Next, what we'll do is we'll talk about actually starting and stopping the show and some tips and tricks that you can do. And we'll cover that in the next tutorial. So thanks a lot, and hopefully we'll have the next tutorial done real soon.